What's up? Happy Monday to you.
Monday.
Come on into the room. Get locked in. You know, some of the things to go on and wake up.
Rise and shine.
Get on in here. Okay. There we go. All right. Hold on. Should be popping back up here shortly. All right. There we go. All right. If you are there, make known yourself. Let us know who is going there. I'm going to go in and turn this down because we got flagged last week. And they turned our music. They muted half of our little feed. So I don't know if that's what's going on, Nika. Good to see you on tonight. Thank you so much for coming on. I don't know if that's because we were running music through YouTube. However, I don't have to know. I just know that we got muted. So I'm just trying to do the needful, just trying to make sure that we are not getting flagged this week and our music is not being, or our show is not being partially muted. You understand what I'm saying? You're picking up what I'm putting down. Are you following where I'm going? All right. So the question on the floor is, wait for it. How are you doing? That's the question on the floor.
How y'all doing tonight, people? Yours truly is doing amazing. I took a good nap before we got on here, and so I actually took a shower to wake myself up because y'all almost didn't see this round face. It was going to be a solo act tonight if I would have slept in that massage chair any longer. So all good today. How goes it for you?
Doing all right. It is Monday. And you guys already know what I say. What's up, Chris Brown? Good to see you as well. You know what I say. I don't have bad days. I have bad moments, and moments do not become a lifestyle. So we just keep pushing on. We do what we got to do to go on and have a great moment. And if you are with us, if you wouldn't mind going on and put your name in the comments field to let us know who is with us on tonight. Again, tonight we are going to have this conversation. We are going to get it in on tonight.
Yes. Share. Sorry to cut you off. Please share. Last week we were pre-recorded, so sometimes when we're pre-recorded, people are like, "Yeah, we're not falling for that again." But I mean, it's still great information. But people like this kind of interaction, so we are live. It is. I'm pinching you. It is really us tonight.
Yeah, we are here. So I need you to go on and get locked in. Go on and start getting your mind ready and prepared to have this conversation because I don't know if we've had a conversation from this perspective. I'm quite sure we have. We pretty much hit, if it has to do with marriage and relationship, we have hit it from just about every angle. And the windows are open and it's really loud. So I'm sorry if you're hearing cars drive by and all the other things, okay? So what are we talking about tonight before, I do my thing?
I was gonna say, you gotta do your thing. Well, tonight we are talking about rhythms in relationships, and so I'm gonna go back to our main feed because it looks like we're frozen, but I want to make sure that that's not what's coming across to everyone else. But tonight we are talking about rhythms in relationship and marriage, and just like a song, right, has a rhythm. We always talk about marriage. I think we've talked about marriage as a dance, but I don't know that we've talked about things you can learn from a song, but I don't know that we've too much talked about marriage in this way. And maybe we have, like you said, it's been 5-6 years in the game with this, and so we probably have at some point talked about rhythms. Good morning, elder sis. Look, good morning.
What's going
I
on,
sound like
sis?
Alonza. Good evening. How are you tonight? How are you?
What's going on, elder sis? And again, if you are on, go on and make known yourself. Go on and put your name in the comments field. Say what's up to us. And if you don't mind, go on and press that share button, because we do want to grow the village and we want to get the village out there as much as we can, because the information we feel is good information.
Correct.
And we want to save every marriage that we can. We want to extend the village and save marriage one marriage at a time. We just want to make sure that we are doing our part and we're getting the information out there to the people who need it. You understand what I'm saying?
That's it.
So with that being said, you guys, you know what time it is. It's Monday.
Get ready, sis.
It's after 9 o'clock. You see these two marvelous faces sitting in front of you. That can only mean one thing. What does that mean, you say? That means it's Marriage Village Monday. Yes, it's Marriage Village Monday. And we are getting ready to have this conversation. You ready to have this conversation? I'm ready to have this conversation.
Yes, and we are frozen over here, but we're good on the live. So
let's just go with it.
That is a distraction.
Just pay attention to that.
So I'll be watching the comments in the live as we kind of go back and forth in this. So again, tonight's topic, we're talking about rhythms in relationship, rhythms in marriage and relationships. And this is an article that I kind of stumbled upon because we're always looking for something fresh to share. And so definitely was looking for something, a little different, something that we could bring to the people, we can talk about. So y'all know how we do it. We chop it up. So basically anybody that's been married or in any kind of relationship for any amount of time, and if you want to do it God's way, in a godly marriage or a godly relationship, it takes work. It just it is what it is. And so in this article, he references the scripture that we always, it's our foundation, Ephesians 5:21-33. And he talks, well, I'm just going with what he used.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Okay. No.
So it is definitely a part of the scripture that we use. And so he talks about, and just as we do, that marriage is a picture of Christ and the church. And so it's a high bar set, right? Because when you're talking about Christ, he is the bar. And so when we are entering into godly relationships, we have an example, of how these relationships and how marriage should work. But sometimes, when we are not intentional about, doing the work, things can slip.
Absolutely.
And so it could be, whether you're parenting and you lose focus on the marriage because you got your children, whether you're doing ministry and you lose focus on the marriage because your focus is on ministry, whether you're working, starting, it could be a new job. It could be just an old job that literally has become like your priority. And so as a result of that, those things begin to threaten the health of your relationship or your marriage. So I want to talk about tonight is just finding a rhythm, and rhythm is really just basically finding that balance in your marriage to make sure you're giving the marriage, the relationship, the right amount of attention while still doing the other things that you have to do and that you're called to do.
Okay, so with that being said, what are some things that you think can create a good rhythm in the relationship? What are some things that you can establish on a day-to-day basis that can allow you to pick up momentum and get a good rhythm? Everybody loves when the song is on and the beat is rocking and the rhythm has been established. You got the bass line going, you got the keys dropping in. All of a sudden, you got a good momentum, a good pace to the song. And the rhythm is driving and is doing what it does. I don't know about you, but when I hear a good song with a good beat and it has good rhythm, it just it
Oh,
brings
it
it out.
is.
You know what I'm saying? It makes it come. So what makes it? What makes a relationship? What rhythm in your relationship or in your life has allowed there to be a great jump off point for the relationship? Because I think it's good to have something that can be what we like to call a momentum getter. So like rhythm, like it picks up steam and it starts to roll and it starts to feel real good. You get out there and you're doing the electric slide and what's the one dance that everybody do?
Cupid shuffle
The Cupid
is
shuffle.
what they doing these
All
days.
of those shuffles, every one of those shuffles got a nice little rhythm to it. So we want to know, what is your rhythm?
And I'm looking at the comments, and I'm gonna try to look at the screen because again, our live is frozen on StreamYard, but we are definitely in check or in tune with the comments that are coming in through Facebook. So Browns, if y'all are putting in comments, um, we may not be able to see them, but you can text me as well, and I'll try
Yeah.
to catch them that way. So for our purposes tonight, what we're using, Higbee does. And let me make sure I'm saying this man's name right. 'Cause I'm calling him Higbee. He's like the department store.
Hmm.
Jazzy Jones, hello, honey.
What's up, Jazz?
What did I say? I pinned it.
You said
Mm,
rhythms. Are
right,
you talking
no,
about
with
the
his
dude's his
name. It
name?
is. I was right, Higbee. Okay. So the way he describes rhythms for our purposes is a particular pattern, discipline, or habit that is repeated over time. And in our marriages, in our relationships, there should be a rhythm. There should be things that are repeated over time that keep the marriage or keep the relationship healthy. And then when those patterns are interrupted, we should be alerted that, hey, we might need to pay some extra attention. And so for you all, we want to see your comments in Facebook. What are some things that you think would be good to keep as a pattern or a discipline or a habit in a relationship? What do
Hmm.
you think? What do you think?
What do you think, guys? What do you think is something that you can establish as a good pattern and a good rhythm for your relationship? For example, I think, making sure that both parties are getting the appropriate amount of rest is a good pattern to establish. Because if you're not rested, you'll be cranky, and nobody wants to be around a cranky individual.
Right.
Nobody wants to be around someone who just has a stink attitude and just making life miserable for everybody.
We're gonna pass
So
on
I
that.
think that the one thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you're getting an ample amount of rest so that you can show up as your best on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. And so we don't have any comments yet, but I'm sure they'll flow in. So, Mr. Higbee talks about 5 rhythms that will bless your marriage or bless your relationship. And so he breaks them down into daily rhythms, weekly rhythms, and monthly rhythms. So, if I guess the TMV version of this is going to be our number one, as Joe just said, would be rest, right? So that you can show up appropriately in the relationship. So let's see what Mr. Higbee says, and then I'll go back over to the comments. So he starts off with daily rhythms. So his number one for a daily rhythm is say I love you and kiss your spouse goodbye and good night every day. That should be a habit that is formed or a
Hmm.
pattern that is it's a
Okay.
healthy pattern that will help establish a healthy rhythm. So what say you about that? We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna start with the daily rhythms and then we'll move into weekly and monthly because it is, we just said marriage is work. And people, let me pause right there. A lot of times people don't want to hear that. They don't feel like, you know, you should be stressing the work of marriage. I tend to disagree with that because what happens is people get married and then they're jaded about what it takes to maintain it.
Well, I think the thing is you gotta have truth operating in the relationship, and the truth is that marriage does take work. That's the truth. I don't anything worth having is worth working for. So you have a job. You gotta go to work and do work to keep your job. So why wouldn't you want or why wouldn't you feel that it was necessary to do the necessary work that it takes to make your relationship work. If you do not work it, it will not work. That's just the bottom line. If you're not doing the work that it takes for your marriage to stay in a healthy place, in a good place, or to be good, it will not be good.
No, it won't. It will be mediocre or average.
And you will not be experiencing your best life, because I know some people say what you get in is what you'll get out. And I believe in the avenue of marriage, that can be true a lot of times. Like what you're putting in, 9 times out of 10 is what you will probably get out of it.
Yeah. Jasmine says we always give each other 3 kisses before we leave the house. Not 1, not 2, but 3. If it is less, we know something is wrong. If there's none at all, there's definitely an issue that needs to be talked about. So that's your rhythm. Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So when it's off, you know. Elder Sis says prioritizing each other and creating a healthy balance of communication. Yes, this should be every day. And even if you can't, so when we talk about prioritization, that doesn't mean that you only focus on them, right? But that means that whatever you're doing, especially, okay, when you get outside of work and you're starting to have other activities or involve other things or include other things, you're prioritizing how that's going to impact that person, right? That especially if you're requiring something of them, in whatever that is. You also want to make sure that you're not giving more to outside sources than you're giving to your relationship. And what I mean by that, focus, right? So back to her prioritization. What say you on that?
I think when it comes to making things work, there's just certain things you gotta do. Like what I do can impact us. So what she does can impact us. So making sure that we are both keeping eye out for everything to make sure that the relationship is in a good place, I believe is absolutely necessary. Because again, it takes both of us. If one of us is just giving the energy and the other person isn't, the relationship is going to feel that.
Correct.
If both of us have just checked out, you know what's going to happen? You're going to realize that you both checked out. And guess what it's going to do? It's going to impact the marriage. It's going to impact the relationship. And what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to make a change somewhere to make sure that it gets corrected.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Agreed. Jazz says we speak on an issue when the issue arises versus waiting until things are blown up. Also, whenever things are getting heated, we have learned to take a breath and walk away until things are cooled down and then come back. That's excellent. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Somebody taught y'all well. I don't know who poured that into
Absolutely.
y'all, but listen, that is great teaching. And that needs to be in the rhythm, right? Our rhythm is when we know it's heated, we stepping away. Absolutely. And then it doesn't become weird. Like if you've never done that, like if you get into moments and all of a sudden you starting to walk away or you starting to leave, and that's never been established as a part of your rhythm, it could put strain on the relationship or on the marriage. It can make it seem as though something wrong is happening or something is going on that shouldn't be. And that's not the case. It's a good principle to put into practice. Jan, I was just messing with you, babe. It's a good practice to have in play so that you can kind of, really rhythms are, it's your natural flow in the relationship, but you got to have these markers that let you know when you're off.
You got to listen to the beat. What's the most important thing to the rhythm? The beat. If the beat is off, the rhythm is going to be off. And if the rhythm is off, the song is going to be off. And if the song is off, then we are off. You know what I mean?
That's it. And Shanika says, for them, no matter what, we always say, I love you whenever we leave each other. Literally, no matter what, happy, angry, etc.
Absolutely. You gotta do what you gotta do for you.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? For your marriage, for your relationship, you have to establish the rhythm that works for you. Some people might like a faster rhythm. Some people might like a slower rhythm. Whatever that rhythm is, find it, listen to it, establish it, and keep the groove going, man.
That's it. That's it. I'm double dipping here, going back and making sure I'm not missing any texts, but they're popping up. So keep it coming. Excuse me for 1 second. All right. So the next one was, according to Higbee, show appreciation for small things. Show appreciation for small things. Thank you should not be reserved for the major things that happen in your relationship.
Thank you should just be something you do because it's a courteous thing. I don't understand where this mindset of not saying thank you, like even when you're walking in a door and somebody leaves the door open, the courteous thing, the respectful thing to do is to say thank you, because that person could have just walked through the door and let the door slam all up in your face. Then you would have been mad. Then your rhythm would have been all off. So at the end of the day, when it comes to doing the little things, like saying thank you, like being appreciative for the little things that happen, like, giving props when props are due.
That's it. And so, how do you all feel about that? Because some people feel like, well, that's just my spouse and they should do these things, so I don't have to say thank you. For example, like I do, like when Joe takes out the trash, I do appreciate that, and I do say thank you. And some people literally have said, well, he's your husband, he's the man, he should be taking out the trash. You know what? I don't get into that because I know plenty of men that don't. I know plenty of husbands that don't.
People don't have to do nothing they don't want to do. That's the thing that we fail to realize. Like, people don't have to do this. She don't have to do anything that she does. So the appropriate thing to do is to be appreciative for the things that she just does. Period. No, I don't care if she wants to do it or Bill needs to do it. If she does it, all that doesn't matter to my thank you. My thank you comes because I know you didn't have to.
Correct. Even if it is, and so here's the other thing. Sometimes there are assigned responsibilities in a home. And maybe the wife is the one that is assigned to cook. It is appropriate for a husband or, to say, thank you for making dinner tonight. Because the same thing, it may be what she is assigned to do, but
she still don't have to.
She may not feel like it one day. And so here's my thing. If I don't cook, I will make sure there's something here to eat. Period. That's it. But the bottom line is, I don't feel underappreciated at all.
Listen,
with that.
If she didn't cook, I'm gonna do the needful because that's what I do. I don't expect her. You know what I'm saying? I don't expect her to do anything. I appreciate everything that she does. I don't see. This is the problem. When you start, and love is not supposed to be based off of expectations. So my love is not predicated on me expecting her to do anything. Now, do I have a desire for her to treat me a certain way? Absolutely. Do I have a desire for her to, show appreciation when appreciation is needed? Absolutely. But do I expect her to do it? No, I don't expect her to do it. I desire it. But hey, if she does it, it's not a game. It's not the end of the day. But guess what? When she does, thank you.
And it's just courtesy, right? Because here's the other thing. What I can't stand, and the Holy Spirit convicted me about this early in our marriage. I can't stand it when you see people treat people at work better than they treat their spouse. From how they speak to them, from how they appreciate them, for how they, just showing gratitude. It's like, wait a minute. This should be consistent. It should not just be over here. And why I said I was convicted, because when I would get in certain moods, I won't speak. I just won't speak to you. I won't talk to you. Now, there's a difference in not talking when you don't have anything good to say versus stonewalling, right? But you don't do that to people on your job. You don't do that to people outside of the home. So why is that okay here?
Because listen, this is what I've learned. It's in a person's heart to do what they do. It's in your heart to do it.
Yes.
If that is what you do, that's what you're going to do. And so, okay, if I have no expectation for you to do one thing or the other, when you do what you do, it's not going to stop my show. It may annoy the living daylights out of me, but because I don't have an expectation, it's not going to dictate how I show up. Because how I show up, how I play my rhythm, and how I march to my beat is not predicated upon your beat. My beat is predicated upon what I hear in my head and how I'm going about it. It don't have nothing to do with your beat. You can be over there playing 1-3, and I'm playing 2-4 or 4-2. As long as we meet up and we start going on the same beat, we good. But if you decide, hey, I'm gonna do this here, I'm gonna go over here and do this tango, I'm gonna let you do that tango because that's what you want to do. I can't make you do anything you don't want to do.
Vonsi says, keeping an open mind and heart to grow with each other is important. So keeping an open mind should definitely be a part of the rhythm. That should be a part of it. And we're, again, talking about rhythms in marriage and relationships tonight, and basically in godly marriage and relationships. And so Mr. Higbee is our tutor tonight, and we're just kind of pulling from his points. But yeah, so that's what we're talking about tonight. So Jasmine, go ahead.
I was about to say, so rhythms are nothing but established patterns. So if I do this, I'll give you an example. So I'm a drummer, you know, this is an established pattern of rhythm. That's an established pattern of rhythm. So what gave me the pattern, the beat? If now this is the thing. If we ain't writing the song together, that beat can go as fast as we want that beat to go. If we want to take that beat all the way up to 195 BPMs, we can do that. Why? Because there's no chords, there's no beat, there's no bass line, there's nothing on the beat. It's just us beating. Now, when we establish chords, now and we establish a groove, now we're getting somewhere. Now we have to start staying in within the confines of whatever structure or beat we started beating to. So if that beat is 4-2, if that beat is 1-3, if that beat is 3-4, whatever the beat is, when those passes come, we need to be on that beat.
Yeah. And so, like I said earlier, we talk about, marriage and relationship, marriage being a dance. You can't start a dance if you don't have the rhythm. You can, and some people think they're dancing that are rhythmless. It's something else. It's movement. It's not dancing. It's something else. We got some more comments out here.
Let's go.
Jazz says, we always say thank you, but we also say thank you with our actions. Like if I'm at work and Mike is home, he will clean the house so I have less on my plate. That is definitely an action of gratitude. I mean, that is something that will produce gratitude, and that is a great rhythm. Elder Sis says, yes, it costs nothing to be kind. You got that right. Let's see. Let me get over here.
We say, have an attitude of what? Gratitude.
All right. Number 3. In our rhythms. Listen deeply to understand. So basically that's 15 minutes of uninterrupted time where you're listening to each other.
That's a long
and this time. This is not one person speaking for 15 minutes because I would just die on the spot. I'm just gonna tell you right now, if I just had to sit and for 15 minutes and listen in a conversation with someone and not respond, other than if I'm counseling or coaching, that's different. But this is what he's talking about, is spending that 15 minutes with each other to hear what each other has to say, or what's going on in each other's lives. And, and you may start with 5 minutes, one shares, 5 minutes, the other shares, and then the last 5 minutes, or 5 minutes, one shares, give 2 minutes for questions, whatever. I don't know. It's just really however you want to. I don't want to give you a strategy for how to do that, but the bottom line is taking and making intentional time to get into that person's world.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, you know, we rush through life and we don't have a clue of what's going on, you know, in the other person's world. You know, we do the basic, how was your day? You know, how was this or that? But how are you? What's going on with you? You know, taking that extra time to pay attention and offer that care and concern
I just think
is a
that
good rhythm. Sorry.
I think that when a person is granting you access to their world, it's just like, okay, if we're writing a song together, I'm granting you access to the creative space in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say we sit down, we establish a beat, and we said, okay, I like that beat. So what chords are we gonna play? We start talking. I'm like, okay, I want to do the song. What's your favorite? What key you like to sing in?
Low B.
You like to sing in B flat? I'm like, okay, I think I can meet you there. So we write the song and we start playing the song in the key of B, and we establish a pattern. I have to listen to what you're saying to understand how you want to express that B chord being played and how we're going to establish how we're going to approach this song together, because we both have to respect the integrity of what we established by number one, the beat, number two, the song, and the chord structure. So if you say I want to start out in the key of B, and let's just say we're calling out the Nashville number system. Well, I want to go 1, 5, 6.
I don't know nothing about this.
And you'd be like, okay, yeah, I like 1, 5, 6, but before we go to the 5, why don't we do a pass of 3 going to 5? But like, okay, well, let's try it out. So we both have to be giving each other access to that creative space to come up with an agreement of what we want to hear and how we want to go in the same direction of this song.
Correct. And y'all see my face the whole time looking confused because I have no idea what any of that means. And so that's the other part of rhythm. When one person has no clue what the other is talking about, explaining, right?
Absolutely.
And then so that time of uninterrupted listening is the time to get the instruction or get the understanding. And you cannot get understanding if you are constantly jumping in when one person is trying to give the explanation.
Absolutely.
So number 4, own your mistakes and ask for forgiveness. Again, we're talking about finding the rhythm, finding your rhythm in a godly marriage or godly relationship. Own your mistakes and ask for forgiveness. Nobody is perfect. Even if you are right in the situation in the moment, or you have the appropriate view, you're still not perfect. And there could be a moment when you don't have the appropriate view. So approach the same way you would want to be handled if the shoe were on the other foot.
Okay.
On the other foot.
So you could literally be right but be wrong. This is the Bible says. The Bible says for him to know to do right, and does it not, for him it's sin, right? So let's dissect that. So I can do what's right, I can know what's right, but not do what's right in the situation.
Correct.
So let's just say we're having a moment of intense fellowship, and I start yelling. What I'm saying is right, but how I'm saying it isn't right. To me, that has produced sin nature out of me, because I am not doing what I know to be right, although I'm right.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times that's what goes on in a relationship, because we can know to do right, we can know the right thing to do, but are we doing right based off of what we know to be the right thing to do for this type of moment when we've gotten here before? Excuse me.
Correct. Let's see, who is this? Family, hey.
What's going on, fam?
Hey. We are, I pinned what we're talking about tonight. Rhythms, finding your rhythm in relationship and marriage. And so, yeah, you can definitely be right. You know your point, you're right. However, your approach is wrong.
Wrong as 2 left feet.
All right. So again, finding your rhythm. We talked about, and you all can chime in. So we started with daily rhythms, and we are taking a look at we call him our tutor for tonight, Garrett Higbee. And he's talking about 5 rhythms that will bless a marriage or relationship. So we started with daily rhythms. Number 1, say I love you and kiss your spouse goodbye or good night every day. Number 2, say thank you and show appreciation for the small things. This is even if you are in a dating relationship or you're looking to be in a relationship, showing gratitude. Again, you don't just say thank you. Thank you is not just reserved for the big moments. It's reserved for anything that you can be appreciative of. Then number 3, listen deeply to understand. So that's taking 15 minutes of uninterrupted time to sit with one another and converse, have a conversation and get in each other's world. Number 4, these are the daily rhythms. Own your mistakes and ask for forgiveness. And let me roll back to 3, because I was thinking, I didn't realize that was every day, but that's not too much to ask for in a relationship. 15 minutes of uninterrupted time per day.
You do 15 minutes of anything every day that you want to do.
Right.
You make time for the things that are important. So why wouldn't setting up time to communicate appropriately be important to you in your marriage?
Absolutely. Yeah. So number 4, own your mistakes and ask for forgiveness. Knock it off, right? Stop acting like you don't ever make mistakes, like you don't need to be forgiven, like you walk on water. Listen, you don't. We don't.
Humility brings true tranquility.
Somebody needs to pin that. Humility brings tranquility.
Yes.
And then number 5, and I'll go back to the feed so I can get our comments. Number 5, compliment or encourage each other in a meaningful way. Compliment or encourage each other in a meaningful way. He's saying do this every day, folks.
I mean, you should, because having something nice to say is not, in my estimation, somebody might see it as bad or as a bad thing to do. But having something nice to say to your spouse is never, in my estimation, never a bad thing to do.
Agreed.
You know?
And then, so complimenting, you look nice today. I like your hair today. If you're married, you look sexy, right? Whatever. Something. And here's the other thing, because I guarantee you, somebody's going to compliment your spouse over a course of a day. Somebody's going to like their shoes, a hat they have on, their glasses, a dress, something, their makeup. Somebody's going to give them that compliment. You don't want to make it a habit of other people celebrating the person you're with more than you do. Now, I'm not saying you got to sweat them, and I'm old school. You don't got to sweat them, or anything like that, but make them feel like they, or contribute to them feeling like they are number one.
Okay, so this is where I stand. So for me, right, and I believe all you should do those things, but
here he comes, the challenger.
Whether or not somebody else is saying it shouldn't matter. It in my estimation, it shouldn't matter, because this is my thing. There's a standard for marriage and relationship, and that standard is Christ, and it is not based off of world concepts. And when we start leaning into those, and when we start desiring those are the things that have the ability to take us away from what really matters. Now, hear me clearly. I'm not
I need to
saying
lean in.
that you should not say these things, but I'm saying whether or not somebody else is complimenting your spouse or not shouldn't matter in the grand scheme of whether or not you do it. You should do it because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
You should do it because you want to say something nice about your spouse. I don't need another woman to tell. Okay, this is gonna sound a little. It's gonna sound how it sounds, and I just really don't care.
Get ready, folks.
I don't need another woman to tell me I look nice. As a matter of fact, I really don't need my wife to tell me that. I know I look nice. That's not being arrogant. That's not being confident. I mean, or overconfident.
Oh, so
that
is
is
saying
just.
I look good, is what you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is, I feel good about myself. I don't need somebody to produce that for me. That is something that I've learned to just be okay with about myself. Even if I'm not the nicest looking guy, that's fine. I don't have to be. I'm comfortable with me. I'm okay with how I look because I know I put the time in to make sure that I look okay when I walk out the door. And that is not based off of somebody giving me a compliment or not giving me a compliment. Now, if my wife tell me, "Hey, honey, that looks good," certainly that strokes the ego. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we shouldn't desire or care what any other outside source says more than we do. Number one, numero uno, based off of what I know about myself and him. That's period. And then just being confident and okay in my skin. I'm okay in my skin.
And so here's where I guess I challenge or push back a little bit. I'm not always okay. I haven't always been okay in my skin. And so trying to get to that place, I finally kind of built up, my confidence in those areas. But I definitely wanted to hear my husband say that I look nice or I look good.
I don't think there's one wrong with that.
And I'm saying that because everybody ain't like you. Yeah, I'm good with how I look. I'm cool. Everybody is not there.
What
and
I'm
that's
saying
great.
is,
that's a great place to be. But for someone in a relationship that isn't, you want to hear the person that you're connected to say those
I
things.
agree.
And it can be a distraction when you feel like other people are giving you these compliments and you're like, well, my own husband don't feel like
That's
this
where I
about
have
me.
a problem because to me, this is and y'all just gonna have to bear with me tonight because this is where the problem comes in when we start conditioning ourselves to need our spouses to do what somebody else might have done because of an insufficiency or an inability in ourselves. That is not your spouse's problem. That is a you problem, and you need to not put that. What it's okay to want your spouse to compliment you, and they should hear me clearly. But what I'm saying is when we start turning our focus in comparison, that's not good because comparison kills. Because if you ever walked in this house and told me another man told you you look good, and I didn't, I'm gonna have a problem with that. Period. Because if you ever walked in this house and told me, and you were drilling me because another man told you look good, that's not my communication language. That's not going to do anything well for me.
Well, here's where I probably wouldn't. First of all, that's not even who I am. But what I would have a conversation if you never gave me a compliment and you never spoke to that, and you know that is something that is of value to me as a wife wanting to look pleasing to her husband, and you never did that. I would say I would have I'll approach the conversation as, hey, let's talk about, do I look okay to you? And that's
you should.
That is the angle that I would come from. And I would never say, well, this other man said whatever, but that would start getting my mind going. Well, let me have a conversation with my husband because I don't ever hear this in my marriage. And there's no way. That's what I'm saying. There's no way that I should be hearing certain things and I've never heard it from my husband. And that's just my,
I agree,
personal opinion. I ain't saying it's the gospel.
What I'm saying is I agree that your spouse should be saying or giving you compliments. What I don't agree is where there's a comparison complex that comes in because someone else said it. No, if you want your husband, this is what we teach in the marriage village. Say what you need to say. It shouldn't have to be a comparison. I don't base anything that I feel about myself or feel about what you do or not do based off of anything else someone else is doing, because that someone else is not in this marriage. Who's in this marriage? The two of us. And I'm not going to, because you got to understand the enemy is cunning. And if there's a door that can be opened in your thought life, guess what? That's where he's going to storm. That's where he's going to send all of his little imps, and they're going to go and they're going to be playing on your mind. And that's how people start going in directions that they shouldn't, because they let concepts and theories in that, first of all, shouldn't live here. If I'm not producing something, you can come to me and say, hey, you're not doing this, and this is what I need. But you know what happens when, you know why most people can't do that? Most people can't do that because most people don't want to have that real conversation, because the ego start getting in. Well, I shouldn't have to tell you. Well, what if I don't know? What if I never got compliments? And a good portion of the reason that I don't give compliments is because I don't know how to give a compliment, because I never got one. So I think a lot of times what we have to do is get comfortable saying what you need to say and not basing that off of anything or anyone else, just basing it off the fact that this is what I desire. You're not giving it to me. So let's have the conversation.
And I'll go with that. But I do still stand on it. I would have a red flag if that would spark me to have the conversation, is all I'm saying. And it ain't ever going to be, you got to do this because somebody else is doing it. But no, I want to hear from my husband, and I want to hear this, and this, and that's fine.
I'm not rebuttaling that, and I'm not refuting that. What I'm addressing is when it comes to you need, like anybody in a marriage needing something, it should never come off of comparison. Comparisons kill, and they kill marriages.
I'm not refuting that about the comparison piece, but I'm just saying some things are sometimes not highlighted until something like that happens. And so it's not about comparison. It is saying, hey, this happened over here. It gave me a little boost in my confidence. I would rather have it.
It shouldn't have to come off of that though. Like that's the point I'm making.
You can't do that when people.
It shouldn't come off of somebody. I hope y'all can see the problem that can cause, because a lot of times what we do is we have these ideas and these concepts rattling up here, and because we haven't really thought it through and think about the impact of what a comment like a comparison comment can do to a person's psyche. Let's just take it to this point. Let's just say you're in a marriage with a jerk, right? And that is going, or a nice person who have jerkish tendencies, and that is going to pull to that jerkish tendency. You just caused a whole problem because you didn't use wisdom on how to approach the conversation. Well, when the conversation should really be, hey, you haven't given me a compliment, and I'm your wife, and I need those compliments from time to time.
And I think we established that when I said wisdom would not ever have me come into a conversation saying this happened over here. It would be more of, hey, what is there? Do I look all right to you? Am I up to par for you? Because you don't give me content. I think I said that whole spiel. So the comparison piece, got that. I think we're all clear on that. Well, I'm clear on that. Elder Sis says we all have a need within to be acknowledged, valued, and appreciated. And spouses should compliment one another.
Absolutely.
I 100% agree, as you all have heard.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to monthly. Oh, Chris Brown said flesh. When you somebody said, Joe said that he looks good and I don't need that, and he said flesh.
Well, this is the thing. I think we have to get to the point where we are okay with ourselves. Like, I'm not saying that be okay with dysfunction. I'm saying be okay with who you are, what you look like, what you have, and all those things. Because again, I shouldn't need someone to be my confidence booster on a consistent basis. Now, I know
I'm sorry,
everybody,
I disagree.
I know everybody, likes to be like their ego stroke from time to time. What I'm saying is you shouldn't need that all the time.
No, and I don't think you should need it, like not be craving it. Yeah, that goes into something else.
That's what I'm saying.
But
That's what I'm speaking to.
I'm an affirmation kind of person. I need to be affirmed.
I think
And
affirmation is absolutely
if we're
necessary.
looking kind of Facebook, if we're looking kind of all over the place, it's because I'm reading the feed on this side and we're trying to look at the camera over here. We got some technical difficulties happening in the background. So please excuse if my face is looking confused. I'm looking all 50 different directions. It's a reason. Kenosis Community Elliott say, agree, you should receive it at home first. That may leave the door open for others to affirm you in a way that your spouse is not. That may be a void that you need filled. And that is correct. And a lot of times when people have that ongoing need for constant affirmation, there's a hole somewhere. There's a void. I heard somebody say it's a God-sized void and it needs to be filled.
Absolutely. I agree with that, but I think we just in the body. We need to grow up in certain areas. We just do. I think some of this immaturity that's just out there in certain areas when it comes to just feeling the need to need certain things. Like at some point in some point in time, you shouldn't need certain things because you have grown past a place. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like nothing that I desire to have here is being produced from something that I'm getting from somewhere else. And if it is, that's a problem. That is egregious. And that's what I'm saying. Like all that other stuff, I can roll with y'all on that. But when we're talking about voids and pitfalls, what does Proverbs say? Proverbs says, a man who committeth adultery lacks sense.
Correct.
He lacks understanding. He lacks fear of God. He lacks morality. So then when we start getting to drilling down, what moral area or spiritual area are you lacking in? Because again, when you start doing things like that, you are showing that there is a lack somewhere that has not been appropriately addressed according to the Spirit.
And so at that point, whichever spouse is stronger or more spiritual should be looking through spiritual eyes and not attacking because they feel like you should be at a certain place. And
I don't think it's about attacking you, but I think
I'm
sometimes
talking certain approaches though can seem a little bit insensitive, and it's not like, and some people. Okay, now here, let's go here. Everybody's not walking around looking to be affirmed so they can cheat, but the enemy is cunning, right? He's tricky, so he will sneak in, and if you are not paying attention to the signals, you will take the bait. Or if you have this void that has not been filled by our Heavenly Father, you will potentially walk yourself into some foolishness. That is we know that. I mean, that is definitely something that we teach against, as far as leaning into other people to be fulfilled. Like you said, in this case right here that we're talking about, it's not talking about that. I don't think that's what this was alluding to. I
wasn't saying that. That's okay. Just where the direction of the conversation went.
Gotcha. Okay. So for all intents and purposes, I just want to make sure that our village is clear that I'm not saying it's okay to fall into whoever's complimenting you on the outside or anything like that. What I'm saying is sometimes that can bring an awareness to maybe something that you really desire in your marriage, because it could be what they said and how you felt after, and you're like, man, I really would like to have that from my husband, or I really would like to have that from my wife. That's where then the next conversation should happen, not as a comparison, but from an awareness standpoint. Somebody said, and I think Elder Sis, you just said that Hold on one second. We missed a couple of comments. I'm going back, y'all. I'm going back. I'm going back. Uh, I gotta be better with this. Okay, it's not like saying. Oh, so Elder Sis says it's not like saying "I love you" to your spouse. You may say, "Well, you know I love you," even though you may know. Hold on. Even though you may know it, it's still nice to hear it. Correct.
Absolutely.
She said there needs to be emotional awareness. No one understand the emotional needs of your spouse. And I mean, I agree with that too, because we are not just 100% spiritual beings yet.
And that's why I said a conversation needs to be had. If, okay, I think sometimes you can know an emotional place of your spouse, but if there's a place where you don't know, that is where a conversation is supposed to be had. We can have a conversation and sit down and say, okay, hey, this bucket is not being filled. And I don't think, again, we teach this in the village as well. Say what you need to say. If there's something that needs to be said, or there's something that's not happening, it shouldn't always be expected for somebody to pick it up by osmosis or to be praying in the heavenlies all the time, when you can just open up your mouth and say, this is what I need, and you're not doing this.
Absolutely. And that's where I said something may trigger an awareness that a conversation is necessary.
Absolutely.
Elliot said, I don't believe it's a maturity issue as far as growing up, but rather just wanting to be affirmed by your spouse. Why would you not desire to be affirmed by your partner? You are there for them and they are there for you. Their words matter most. Or their lack of words. Sorry, I'm sorry. Can I finish the comment? Or their lack of words. Or their lack of words, for that matter. So that basically, so what you're saying is their words matter, like what you say matters, and what you don't say also matters.
I think it's affectionately understood that there are certain things that need to be had, but there are also moments where maturity needs to be had in certain emotional areas as well. And to state or to act as though that's not the case, that's not it. Because we all have areas in our emotional state of mind that we need to develop, what's it called? Intelligence to that emotion. So when that emotion is no longer operating in an intelligent manner, that means there's a growth that needs to happen to that place where it's not, because sometimes people act in these ways, in these manners, because there's not growth, and because they have been allowed to stay in an emotionally deficient place, because they have not been having the appropriate conversation, whether that's from a pastor, whether that's from a spouse, whether that's from whoever. So I completely feel like there's always growth that can happen on any level when it comes to these particular areas.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's disputing, like, well, 'cause there's agreement. We do need to have we are all growing. But my thing is with that, just to your point, my spouse is supposed to help me in an area of growth. And if I'm wounded in an area emotionally, or I'm deficient in an area,
no doubt,
that's not the time. Or if you're deficient in an area, that's not the time for either of us to say, well, you just need to mature in that area.
I think what I'm saying is maturity in that moment will say, hey, this is something that we need to grow at. This is something that we need to maybe develop and get a little bit better at. Because again, if the conversation is not being had, and like I said, it's not about in that particular moment pointing a finger or exposing. It is having a legit conversation to address the need on both sides. So if we're having the conversation, and let's just say hypothetically, this is a moment where growth can be had, the conversation should lead in that manner.
All right, let's move to monthly rhythms. So we talked about the daily rhythms. So the first monthly rhythm that he talks about is finding a life-giving couple to spend time with, whether it's a double date or a connection on Zoom. And, we always talk about our upline. It doesn't always have to be an upline, right? It doesn't have to be the person that you choose to spend that time with, doesn't have to be your upline, right? It could be just somebody that you enjoy spending time with somebody that is a good example, good people to be around, people that have the same views as you when it comes to marriage and relationship. You don't want to be around somebody that is going in a different direction than you. And that's why he says, I think it's very strategic. Find a life-giving couple to spend time with. Um, these life-giving or find life-giving people. If you're single and you're looking to be in a godly marriage, find a life-giving couple that can pour into you, that you can spend time with, just to see, how it works. And again, now we always say, we give you the disclaimer, your marriage, God's blueprint for your marriage is just that. And it's not going to be the same blueprint as someone else's, but there are good models out there, good examples, that you can glean from. And you want to be around. It's already enough, like you all know, the culture, what it says about marriage. The culture has really um, spit on godly marriage covenant and the way that marriage was, originally intended. And so you need to find, it is imperative to find a couple that is really trying to do marriage appropriately, trying to do marriage God's way.
I agree. I think you need to always have people who can influence you in a positive manner, regardless if they're, a little bit more mature than you, or have a higher insight of you or not. I think you can learn anything from anyone if you're paying attention and have a teachable spirit enough. You can learn from anything and anyone at any point.
All right, his next one. We're running out of time, but wait a minute. So the next one that he says, as a monthly, I'm sorry, a weekly rhythm, fast and pray for one another. Um, so he says, fast and pray for one meal time together, and then have a list and include worship. So this is what he's saying. At first when I read this, I thought he was saying pray more than just at mealtime, but no, he's saying fast, like give up a meal once a week and pray together, and then have a prayer list that you actually operate from during that time. So give up a meal and pray together in that space, and that will develop connection. That develops connection. So what do you all think about that? Because some people think fasting is old school. We don't do that no more. I don't know where y'all at. We do. we still believe.
Well, I just think they're like, when certain things are a part of the fabric of your environment, you just do it because you know it works. We fast and pray because we know it works. We set aside that time because we've seen it have impact and power in our life. So if you haven't necessarily experienced the impact and power of it, then I think maybe you will question or be a little bit more reluctant to do it. But that's when I would say try it and watch God prove you wrong, because He will. If you set that plate aside and you approach His throne, He made a promise. He said, "Seek, you shall find; knock, and the door will be open, or shall be open unto you. Thus says the Lord."
So I just want to pause real quick. I skipped y'all. We went from daily to monthly. I don't know how I did that. I skipped right over the weekly. So we're on monthly right now, and we'll fast track so we can move through this. So we're still on monthly. So we're finding our rhythm, our balance, our pattern in marriage. So on the monthly rhythm, the next one, number 3, is check in to adjust anticipated seasonal challenges. So different things come up. We talk about marriage and relationship in all seasons. Different things come up at different seasons in your relationship. So every month you need to be doing a check-in to find out, what's going on. Where are we? And it's really strategizing, right? And so we started out by saying marriage is work. It is, and this is the kind of work it is. It is literally checking in, making sure that we're good, making sure that, okay, we know usually maybe every year this time of year it's income tax time. And I'm not saying literally right now, but we may know we're going to have to pay a certain amount at tax time. All right. So each month we're checking in so that when we get to that tax payment time, we're not looking crazy like, oh, we in the hole or, or whatever. So those are the things, like those big things that that are coming. Check in monthly on those things so that when they get there, you're not just like overtaken in the moment.
Okay.
All right. So number 4, have a family meeting to clear the air, to plan and to pray, and then lead it together. So if you have children, this is really important because we are really setting the example. I'm using really a lot. Sorry, overuse. If we have children, we set the example for how they're going to function when they get into their marriages and in their relationships. And so having a family meeting monthly to clear the air, to plan, and to pray. And then the last one he says under the monthly check-in, I'm sorry, under the monthly rhythm check is go over and budget. I'm sorry, go over your budget and adjust accordingly and get counsel as needed. Y'all already know your girl. I had a problem in the area of finances, but he's recommending that monthly we go over our budget and then we make the adjustments, make the necessary adjustments so that we don't go over budget. Um, all right, so those are again the we did the weekly rhythms and then the monthly rhythms. Sorry, we did the daily rhythms and the monthly rhythms. So I'm just gonna rattle off the weekly really quick, and what I'll do is I'll read them all, and then if there's any one that jumps out that you all want to chime in on, or if if you want to pick one. So weekly rhythms: go for prayer walks, um, grow it to a minimum of 3 times and 20 minutes over those 3 times. So 3 times a week, take a walk. He's calling it a prayer walk. I'm saying, yeah, we definitely need to keep the prayer in there, but you could start with prayer and then it could go into a different conversation. However, just 20 minutes, 3 times a week, take that walk together. The next thing he says is go on dates, ideally weekly, 2 hours with meaningful communication. All right. So what that sometimes looks for us is we go to the movies and then we talk about the movie after. As long as it's meaningful, or we go to dinner and we have a conversation over dinner. Go on dates. All right. Number 3 for weekly rhythms, schedule a time of physical intimacy. Discuss the best times and frequency. All right. I know some of y'all are laughing like schedule intimacy. Yes, we're not just talking about sexual intimacy, but sometimes, if depending on how your life is shaking, you might have to schedule it. And it's nothing wrong with that. The reason why we cringe at that is because the movies tell us we gonna have sex every night, 7 days a week, every single night, and sometimes twice a day, all the time. That's not an all the time for everybody. Everybody's life is not built that way. That might be desired, but that's not usually how it shakes out.
If it's not happening, I do want to warn. If it's not happening, then you might want to look into why it's not happening, because there could be a problem there.
Definitely could be. Mm-hmm. All right. So number 4, he encourages us to take a Sabbath together, a day like no other weekly. So that day of Sabbath could be whatever it looks like for y'all, but that Sabbath means you're not doing anything for anyone else outside of your home. And even if it means you're both on one end of the everybody, you're on your end of the couch, I'm on my end, or we're in our recliners or whatever we're doing, but we are together and we have shut the outside world out.
Yeah.
And he's saying this needs to happen weekly. And then number 5 under, because he did 5 under each. Number 5 under weekly is sit down to dinner together, minimum of 5 days a week is his recommendation. Back in the day, that used to be it. Family dinner was it. Families would sit at the actual dinner table and have dinner together. And so those are some recommendations. He's kind of taking us back to some old principles with that. But it worked in a lot of situations. The family and the relationship stayed together because that time was being spent together. And I think that's really the gist of what we're talking about here. Just getting back to togetherness and getting to know what works for your relationship, your marriage, and what God would be pleased with. Because I honestly, we're going to be held accountable for how we steward our marriages, period.
Yep.
And so We just want to make him proud.
Amen. Amen.
All right. Well, it's 10:10. Any comments? Any last, any parting words? I know we got a little heated on tonight. I like that though, because I definitely you don't get sharpened by just hearing your own opinion about things. And so it's always good to shake it up a bit, right? So
I think sometimes it's just really how we look at it. Because to me, I talk passionately, but I'm not turned up. This is just how I communicate, when it comes to something that I'm passionate about.
I should say more about, I should have mainly said I got turned up. Because y'all know, I mean, I don't, I'll push back here and there. But
I think pushback is good though, because again, I think sometimes we need to be challenged. All of us do. We need to be challenged, because the challenge is where we go back to the table and we really comb through what we think, how we think, and see if that is really the direction that we need to continue to walk in, because sometimes it may not be. And sometimes you don't know until you've gotten into a moment, excuse me, that has produced the knowledge for you to see that you need to make an adjustment in a particular area.
amen. So I don't have any more tonight. Anybody else have any questions, comments, anything? Thank you all for engaging. Like I
Absolutely.
said, it takes a village, and we know that. Um, I want to think if there's anything coming up that we need to announce.
Mm-mm. I mean, service next month, but that's a whole month away.
Yeah, nothing currently on the table. If you want to join us for Bible study tomorrow, that link is on all of our social media platforms. We would love to have you with us on the Zoom link. Again, please excuse my face this entire night, because I've been looking all over the place. Because like I said, our camera is over here and it's frozen on StreamYard, and I'm trying to read the comments over here. So I know it might have been a little bit disjointed, but thank y'all for rocking with us.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
Love
always
y'all.
hanging in there. So we love y'all. And man, I'm not forgetting nothing.
No, I mean,
what? So happy birthday to I just saw this come through. Elder Cordell Glass, one of our villagers. Yeah. Happy birthday,
yeah, happy
sir.
birthday, bro. Is that the Smellies?
Yes.
What's up, Smellies?
Oh, what's going on, Smellies? She said they really wanted to come. It's okay. It's all right. We will. Hey, it'll happen when it's supposed to. Don't worry about it. We know your heart.
Absolutely.
We know your heart. We love y'all. So
Absolutely.
Again, thank y'all for joining tonight. Get some good rest,
please.
And we will see you all next week. What is next week? Things you can learn from a song, or is next week Spotlight? I don't know.
Spotlight, because we did things you can learn from a song like 2 weeks ago.
All right. So next week we will have a featured guest that we will spotlight. And what that topic will be, we don't know yet, but you will know as soon as we do. All right. All right. Love y'all, all right, family. Love you, y'all. Sis. Mwah. Good night, Browns. Love y'all. Good night,
Browns. Love y'all. Let's see if this thing is going to stop. This thing got the devil.
We can't touch it. Oh. There it goes. Yes.